Sphere 1 by Ricardo Antonio Dominguez.
Translator's note.
Contained herein is the Althas translation of Oneserian Onesperius. The 12 and 11 translators found great difficulty in unfolding this encrypted record from its raw toroid. Extracted information from all decipherable fragments is herein contained, where practical, proper names of individuals and locations have been phonetically reconstructed for air language. Vocalizations may prove recognizable when passing in sound waves through atmosphere. Ocean names unfold unpronounceable for air resonance and are rendered to a nearest approximation into the target vocabulary's phonetic matrix. Terms not formulated by phonetic reproduction have been localized to substitute the closest representation, by interpretation, to required moniker descriptors by drawing from the current target culture's historical lexicon. When this tome of Onosphere was conveyed across incalculable void to Althas, throughout painstaking translation, we ascertained it has been thus translated numerous times due to compressive artifacts found unfurling throughout mapping, phrase homogenization, and terminological truncation. That ancient vernacular which yet survived inevitable transcreation from its source culture retains differences in varying native breeds upon Onosphere, Sperius, Onesperius, Serian Onesperius, Oneserian Onesperius. 4 primary books follow, 4 tales for 4 Utes in Eulum.
Chapter 1. Onyx Cathedral.
This is a fragmented account of Onosphere, out from where we have preserved ourselves for all others who navigate these passages. It must set us back before it draws us forward.
Ancient Age. Seer Nation. In the time of Urthico, during an era in 7 deaths, Druag Aur, sovereign of Sirion, of we, the Undecilian dwellers within great ocean yerks, ordered capture of the surface empire city Onya. It seethes all, rampant with indiscretions of roguery, forged feebly from mere preposterousness, said the royal adviser to the sovereign. These agile surface dwellers have become cunning with their new soil craft. Our static discharges haven't failed us when asserting our physical dominance. However, our sources indicate the Onians have amassed a defensive cluster of congealed ore strung across all our viable shoreline. Not only this, but Onia itself has increased its intelligence as a unified domain of soil dwellers over these moontide. As this Sirion empire yet struggles in hard-learned negotiations, they continue to play logic games to prevail. The adviser, gazing through a cartograsphere, added, "Moreover observed and counted, our incoming information suggests that upward of 100 Onians have been dispatched from out of their city's flanked wall. Their journeys spread them each as thin as navigation could." The sovereign turned forward, facing over the cambered throne's hub, as the royal adviser proceeded frame casting above. We surmised, these few Onians were dispatched by tactical resolve to drive the savage Gorgons out of the Falks of Yod to thwart our meager lines of attack. However, our spies have observed that they have continued beyond Yod, traveling into yonder wetlands of the Folks of Yok. They now penetrate the tangled interior of their most uninhabited regions. At this time, ancient sovereign of our great ocean yerks, Druag Aur, spoke to royal adviser class, saying, "Your report flows further distress, adviser charge. For these 2 bright beasts do not yet know the terrifying faculty of Gorgons. They run to all the 4 corners, we fear, to ask of the Ute Lords their assistance. Royal Advisor Class curled down in the sovereign's words, proclaiming, "Yes, also, how can it be that a powerful Ute Lord might help so mortal a thing as a surface dweller, thence to unleash its tremendous force against us?" Druag Aur said, "I will set forth the previously forbidden knowledge of Utes to be inscribed into carrier keys by you, Advisor Charge, for practicable, imminent transmission." The advisor said, "It will be fruitful to cleft myth's fashioned viscera from its raw substance." "And I," said Aur, though in urgency, "feed you yet gentle, that it may digest undivergent. From what is understood, Utes grant anyone capable of presenting a request to them, that very asking to be fulfilled. Perhaps this is due to the pious enlightenment that tethers them into physical matter, that they submit their almighty command into any mortal vessel." The royal advisor surmised, "There is a speculation among scholars that this apex of discipline perhaps holds the Ute mind from flying into nothingness." Druag Aur nodded, and forming sharp symbols said, "So the forces here we now must dread are the forces to which alive we are all governed." The advisor said, "In my youth I read in earnest about the surface sand Ute. It is so alien to my sensibilities that I studied all the old texts in wonder. If we find it terrible to be dried and crushed, is this what the Kaivak Ult, Ute of the great sand oceans, could bring? Yes, we can read from the old gathered texts. From the Ute, Kaivak Ult, come dust clouds to blind, burn and prick daggers into our breathing, gnawing us at all angles. And even if our Ute neighbour here in Ocean Yerkes, the Umbert sailor, was somehow asked, our sear plateau could drain, then choking, drown in the outside air our nation's children, crushed, burning by trillions of trillions rolling dry beneath Ra. For we can scarce imagine in our worst fears, advisor charge, scorching in the air beneath a raw sunbeam's wrathful yowl. We Yerkes dwellers should only feel Ra's sunlight reaching down, bent through this shallow depth, as it shimmers its gentle caress through these vaulted portals high above. Yet as we hover here, we shall not a moment forget our raw battalions atop entering up remote upon land, below the clouds blowing thin, burning winds beneath Helios Ra. The royal advisor, dampening spark, shook, turning from the sovereign's words, and struggled in saying, "Powerful strategy be broken in dread terror at this disclosure. Sovereign has only 2 of these fearful 4 Utes unleashed to my wakefulness. Seer nation, this vessel, I must bear to listen, and key the next 2 Utes." And royal advisor Class sparked to the side, yet Druag Aur saw it. Though we must, for drifting into a bottomless chasm unlit, awaiting the crushing boundary, is to wait in oblivion. "This is why I have called you to conference today," said Druag Aur. "I am bringing you in, because I know that you've spent an appreciable amount of time absorbing the forbidden pains in our Center Nest library." "Mostly, I read the tomes there inside the library," said the advisor, "and have only ever carried a select few out. Only." "I meant," said Aur, "that you have studied them extensively. This evening there is a report from our chief steward of a supposed brush with a Ute lord upon the North Central Empire. And I wish for your eye." Then, motioning an oval outward, the sovereign said, "Bring forth our chief steward." The royal advisor motioned to the attendants flying the outer hall, and they scrambled up and down. A floor portal popped as the chief steward entered the chamber, curling low. "Apologies, yet inward events require attendance. Bring it forth," said Sovereign Hour. Chief Steward, with antennae curled, twirled in high tone, saying, Agent Vod has apprehended 2 bumpkin criminals who appear to have faltered in their attempt to assassinate, by blade, Priest Ganymede. They report being coerced by the Ute repulse, Satsum, who they encountered at the Praxithea's Oaks, and even below bottom boundary. They are held by Exterion, 9 quarters above. We inform, by Exterion Guard, to fulfill Sovereign's wartime request that all Ute matters be brought forth immediate upon high command. Of thought made sound, said Royal Advisor Class. As if Eulum speaks, said Hour, unfold them gently, so as to not destroy their testimony, and we shall thereafter see forward for counsel. As Chief Steward drew away down conduit, Royal Advisor Class continued, A Geldon's rise that we have been pondering strategies concerning these Utes, and now word of a contact. It winks eerily, but to whose thrust or thwart, if it winks at all, said Hour. That it not wakes, buoyant as a morning ghost, said the adviser, shaking in fright. And how wide awake does it leave us to mourn, said Hour, gazing the glowing bulb above. We'll find down path, I'll suppose, from which to which becomes well worn. The Sovereign's Council floated their evenings beneath the onyx cathedral's great central dome, its expanse amply curving far above, all walls aglow in phosphor vine, with their scrambling mycophores twining up in myriad glimmering tendrils. Multiplous oval portals lined around by spilled-out conduits, and for each passage affixed thereupon their titles, reading to where and which etched in the grand old Sirion script. Centered above the central chamber hung a massive kelp vine bulb, tended in its prodigious translucence with phosphorus mushrooms, which kept the bubble radiating in a soft luminescence diffused, whereby no shadow could cast. Moving outward, onyx domes rising in winding radiuses of spines stretched in a defensive remnant from the old war. Countless oval windows hooping around the tower's flared light columns, spiking Yerx's rolling fog. 8 dark spires thus increased in size, rising to the thick centre steeple wherein centred the great hall and floating council of the Sovereign. Please do horrify to increase the last 2 Ute Lord forces, the adviser implored, as the Royal Council headed up to detentions. Druag Hour, drawing up and squinting over a historicon, said, As we traverse to interrogations, allow me to massage your mind. More like Marsh, said the adviser. Hour flashed apprehensively. I will dump you a passage transcribed from the old Sirion wall concerning the 4 Ute lords. For you, adviser charge, must be roundly informed in order to circumvolute an effective counsel. For what is known, the volatile Kaivak Ult, pouring through the surface sand oceans, is the first Ute. The passive Umbert sailor of our great ocean Yerx is the second. The shapeless Satsam, within the creeping darkness sloshing all Spherius, is the third Ute. Jocasta Drax, adhered upon the frozen unknown ice region, beyond both poles, sweeping static barriers, is the fourth. Then the Sovereign, folding up, pointed and said, We are now witness to an impending global death which has never been seen. And indeed, as it is against all natural law of warfare to attack or siege any walled encampment, we must proceed in our continued savage discord against this surface empire nation of Onya and other outlying surface-dweller states, to cut off the head, thereby falls the body. For if our poisoners, this Onian empire, finds fortune in asking even one of these 4 Utes to attack us, we seers, all dwellers of great ocean Yerx, for 1,000,000 double moontide, may perish for all time. Clandestine, beholding through viewing panes, the royal adviser and the sovereign scrutinized the two bedraggled bumpkins as they slumped motionless, staring at their own despondent reflection. "Look at them. They are mere children," said the sovereign, leaning long. "Despairingly torn," added the adviser. "They pulse likewise in integers twofold that of the outer rim. Their bellies are yet light-coloured, as if they've been hiding long from something lurking below. The Kodok sifter sparks defiant, as the naiad grazer churns all of gloom's utmost misery." "Bewilderment falls all about them," said Gallop Fruit, entering the chamber. Then Sovereign Aura, twinging in pity, said, "These are not assassins. They both must hardly have slipped from out their brood in thereabouts of 40 or less moontide. Have they been given accommodations, Fruit? They have not taken food, as if they wished to starve themselves, and had I not turned my eye on them, they'd be rotting, incarcerated. Agent Vod nearly consigned them to oblivion." "Surprising," grumbled Royal Advisor Class. "Agent Vod has an unblemished performance record. No, performance so outstanding should be viewed with a weary eye," said Our, "for a singular authority ought not shine above all others so brightly, lest it's ill-built." "Had I not by chance overheard Vod's interrogation," said Fruit, "we might have never known of their brush with the Ute." "Bring the survived priest, Danimede, into council," ordered Our. Pointing back toward the bumpkins through the window, Fruit continued, "The one there chins up at everything, and the other, who claims to have been to the utmost bottom of oaks, circles mostly on touching down a bargain in darkness darker than death. Had I been upon the bottom of Oak's chasm and survived, I might chillingly believe the same," rattled Royal Advisor Class. Sovereign Druag Hour then said, "And what bargain would a Ute lord fashion unto a mortal calf, whereupon catching another, draws them far-flung to here, to lock in such synchronous circumstance with our wartime fear?"